my name is Chrissy Paradis, and I am here with Coach Pete D'Arruda.
How you doing?
And Alan Reeves, financial strategist at Capital Financial, and America's Wealth Coach and best-selling author.
Yeah.
And Coach, I hate to embarrass you, but I'm gonna. Who is this handsome man on this brand new book?
That seems to be me.
That looks a lot like you. I didn't know
sure
if it was
does.
a doppelganger. And you literally wrote the book on retirement.
I have written a bunch of books in my life, but this is my favorite book because it's over 300 pages, and really, if you read this book, you can master your retirement. And that's what that's the main goal for everybody is the questions I get over the years. Coach, how can we make sure we don't have any worries in retirement?
Okay.
Have that worry-free retirement, making sure that you eliminate financial termites and get on the right path. That's what the book's for. So I recommend anyone get that book. And many of you out there don't want to read anymore. I know. I don't either. So we have the audiobook. So the audiobook's also available. So they're both available at CoachPete.com.
It makes a great gift. Like what?
It does.
I mean, you could do any holiday.
Yeah. Really break it down
Valentine's
to
Day.
the simple language.
Yeah.
And the print's bigger because, as I've got older, and you too, I noticed you.
Oh, yeah.
It's
You know
harder
my
to read small print, Alan,
It is.
right?
Very
And I don't like fine print anyway, right? So we
No.
made the font big enough so you're not having to squint and then say, well, I can't read this. So, but again, we have the audiobook too, which makes it a lot more helpful for a lot of people to listen to it on the plane or in the car or wherever you are.
Okay, well, we wanted to do something a little bit. I mean, not that we don't always do fun stuff here, but we are going to kind of put you on the spot and do some 13 questions.
Well,
for
this is an
Coach.
encore presentation because last year we did 20 questions about me.
We sure
and
did.
The thing about that is I knew ahead of time because I had already answered those questions. And so then we went in more detail on them. But here I had the staff, you included, everybody, I don't know who did this, but I told you guys to come up with at least 10
Yep.
questions that you never asked me about me. And I think you guys came up with, what, 13 or 14? What
Yeah,
did you do,
and
13?
I think you'll have an idea of whose question is whose. All right, you're
Sure.
on death row.
Okay.
What's your last meal? Didn't see that one coming.
I would like a lasagna with a meatball on top.
Oh, okay.
So if I'm on death row, I can have whatever I want. Maybe have some pizza instead of a garlic bread. Give me some pizza too.
Right, yeah.
I love Italian food. I think I could probably eat Italian food every single day. Mexican food as well. Chinese food, I could eat that too. But I think I could eat for more days in a row and never get sick of is Italian food. I really love Italian food.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's a good
And I
call.
make my own lasagna, by the way. I make a kilo lasagna.
Well, we might have to put.
I will
put
attest
to
to that.
test.
It is really good.
Is it?
It is really
You've
good.
had this, Alan,
Yeah,
and I
have.
haven't. Okay, well,
And it's not vegetable lasagna like on Seinfeld. It's real
it's
lasagna.
real lasagna.
Yes, it is.
Next up, what is the best piece of financial advice you had ever received?
My grandpa told me a long time ago is pick those pennies up and save them. And he said, the more you save, the more you'll have. Now, what I used to do is I'd pick the pennies up. I followed my grandfather's advice a little bit. I'd pick the penny up and then I'd run right to the convenience store and buy a piece of candy. Because when I grew up, sometimes you get 2 pieces for a penny. I don't know if you remember that, Alan, but 2 pieces for a penny. And my favorite candy back then for the penny candy was something called a squirrel nut zipper. And many of you have never heard of that. There was a band
There's a
that came
band
out.
called. Okay, I was thinking. I thought I heard.
But that's
that.
after the candy, right? And it was a caramel and nut kind of thing. It was like a flat little, this when you go to the restaurant and you get these Andes mints that are chocolate and they got the little green in there? It was that shape. But it was total teeth-ripping caramel. It was the strongest caramel. It was almost like super glue.
Wow.
And dentists love it because you tear fillings out and you'd have to go back to see the dentist. And my dad hated it because I had to go see the dentist.
Like
but the
rubber
squirrel nut
cement.
zipper was my favorite candy.
Do they still make it?
I don't know. Probably not the same. It was the Nico company up in Massachusetts that did it. The one that made they made the Nico wafers and all that kind of. I don't know. We featured them as a candy bar, the Nico wafers as a candy bar of the month way back in a couple of years ago. But I think the best advice was save your money, don't spend it. And my mom also reiterated that. That was her dad, my grandpa on her side. She would also always say the game is when you go into the store, they want to take your money, and the game is to walk out with your money. And that worked great until they invented credit cards.
Right.
True.
And by the way, McDonald's, we used to get these for Christmas. Me and my 2 brothers would get a $5 gift certificate booklet, and because back when you're younger, you want to have pride and pay for something yourself, right? So mom and dad mom would take us to McDonald's and she'd say, grab one of your certificates. So we'd all tear one of our dollar certificates out, go to McDonald's, we'd get a burger, fries, milkshake, and an apple pie, one of the apple pies they used to have in the cherry ones where they deep fry them. Remember those things at McDonald's? For 85 cents.
What?
Yeah.
Oh,
and then
sorry.
McDonald's started accepting credit cards, and everything went up because you don't feel it when you pay with that credit card.
With plastic, right?
So we could get, each kid could get 5 meals out of that $5 gift certificate. You notice they don't sell those anymore because you would have to.
Wow.
How many? Now, even food stamps. You don't have food stamps. They have a food stamp card now because it would take too many food stamps to buy a loaf of bread. It's
really
crazy now. Once they started taking credit cards, and that's inflation too. I understand inflation, folks, but still, once they started taking credit cards, they started charging a whole lot more. And if you've seen that picture online of a Big Mac in the '70s compared to a Big Mac today, there's nothing big about the Big Mac. No. And I also and I don't want to discriminate against McDonald's. The Whopper Jr. these days, I got a couple of those the other day. I sent pictures to everybody. It was like a slider. Crazy. That's called shrinkflation, when they have things cost more and they decrease the size at the same time.
So not shrinkage, but shrinkflation.
Shrinkflation. Shrinkage is Seinfeld.
Okay, there's another Seinfeld.
Anyway, that's what Mom said is, and it is. It's true to this day. And look at it these days. We're getting bombarded. Like if you're on any kind of social media, Facebook's where I go a lot of times, and every other post is an ad for something. And it entices you to spend. And so I learned my lesson a long time ago about buying those items on Facebook, which I told my wife the other day is basically like Temu items. Temu's like the crappy items from China. And by the time it comes, you forget you even ordered it, and you forget, you can't, there's no receipt in it, so you can't take it back, right? So I always look, if you're going to buy something, research it. So when I see something on Facebook now, instead of impulsively pressing buy, I'll take that, I'll copy and paste the name of that item, and I'll go to Amazon and I'll search it there and get a better price, and I can return it to Amazon, see? So there's a lot of good ways to buy things, but the secret is not to buy too many things.
It's kind of a good transition into this question.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're going to be stranded on a desert island in this scenario. Okay?
With Gilligan and Marianne?
Yeah, perfect. What is the only album that you would take with you, and what's the only movie that you would take with you?
Okay, Guns N' Roses, the very first Guns N' Roses album.
Okay.
Guns N' Roses is one of my favorite bands. They came to the RBC, whatever they call it now, the Novo Center now, but back then it was the PNC or the RNC, whatever it's called. And they put on a show that was probably about 4 hours long. And they've been around forever. Wow. You know, and some of the rock and roll bands from the 90s, you can see at like any club you used to go to, like they can only get 30 or 40 people. They're still filling auditoriums up with 30 or 40,000 people.
And the energy?
Really, and the energy was awesome. Rolling Stones too. If I had to have another album, maybe Rolling Stones. Love the Rolling Stones.
Yeah.
Probably the greatest hits of Rolling Stones. And then U2. U2. I saw U2 in the Sphere in Las Vegas last year. Folks, if you've never been to the Sphere in Las Vegas, you need to go. It's one of the most awesome concerts I've ever seen.
Wow.
You're inside, but you feel like you're outside. So. And Eddie Money was my favorite musician.
I love Eddie Money.
And I had him on my show. Never really met him in person, but met him on my show. And I wish I had a time machine so I could go back and go chill with him and have a beer when he was drinking. He wasn't drinking at the end when he passed away, but what a great guy.
It's like you read my mind, because another weird scenario. Okay, so you're hosting a dinner party, and you can invite 3 people. I'm not available, living or dead. And neither is Alan. He can't come.
Not this time.
Who would you pick, and why?
I would invite Ben Franklin, because he had so many ideas. He's an idea guy like I am. Like I can only imagine what was going on in his head, sort of like mine.
Who would be like a think tank?
Oh yeah, Donald Trump.
Nice.
Because I just want to see what's going on. I'd love to. I've met Don Jr. I've met Ivanka, but I've never met the big guy.
Yeah.
And so the third one, though, Charlie Daniels.
Ooh, that's a good
Now,
one.
he's passed away. Ben Franklin has too, but Charlie Daniels had him on my show once, and he's just sounded like a really, really cool guy to get to know.
And you got a really cool Charlie Daniels signed guitar as well.
Well, you know, I got to know Charlie because I had him on my show, and we became friends. And he called me one day, and he said, "Coach, we've got the 40-year anniversary of the Devil coming up." And I said, he said, "We're going to have a golden fiddle. So we're only going to do 40 of them. I want to send you one." I said, "It's going to be numbered." I said, "Well, give me a low number." He said, "The first 3 are for family, Coach." I got number 4. 4 of 40. It's hanging in my office as one of my prized possessions, a golden fiddle.
Very nice.
Signed by Charlie Daniels. So I asked him a long time ago, I said, "Charlie, it's a violin." I said, "What's the difference between a violin and a fiddle?"
It's a good question.
He said, "Coach, you play a violin, you rock a fiddle."
Whoa, that is
comment,
such
isn't it?
a great
Yes.
quote.
What a
Very
great
good.
guy, though.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
You know, it's an unfortunate thing about life is it ends.
It's true.
And so many people over the years, like over the last couple of years, Alan, you've heard me talk about it. I've had some friends that have passed away, younger than me. We can't take any day for granted. So, I meet people every now and then. They're all just sad and kicking the ground, looking down. And the most precious thing you ever have is life. So don't take any day for granted. I try not to. People say, "Gosh, Coach is crazy. He's always out doing something." He's now. You see me on social media doing stuff. I spend a lot of time decontaminating, just chilling by myself at home.
You do
and
your
I love doing that.
decompress.
You'll see. I mean, Alan asked me to come over. I said, I don't want to tonight. I'm just staying home. I just want to, because I just like to be with myself and think about what's happened. I mean, if you don't appreciate what you've done, you haven't done it. So you have to really look back. If you're doing something all the time, you really can't appreciate what you've done. So I like to look back, and I also spend time with myself to come up with show topics, because I've done radio shows now for 20 years, and that's every single week. You have to. I'd be boring if I didn't have things to talk about, right? And I've heard some boring shows, believe me, from other people.
Right.
But it's just have fun. My lesson to anybody watching this would be have fun with life.
I know that.
Nothing to do with the financial world, by the way. Just have fun with life. You don't need money to have fun. You can have fun without money.
And
money doesn't hurt, by the way, but money isn't the admission ticket.
Right.
To freedom in your mind and having fun.
Right.
Agreed.
I've met some people with no money that are having a lot more fun than a lot of people I've met with a lot of money.
Wow. No, that's so true. And I know you've had so much experience in radio. You said you've heard entertaining shows and not so entertaining shows. What is like the one memory that sticks out the most in your head from the early days of Financial Safari?
Let me tell you my memory about radio.
Hit me.
So the one memory or two memories I have from radio from when Little Coach Pete days, when I was like 8 years old. We spent a lot of time in our Ambassador station wagon, wood paneled Ambassador station wagon, traveling across America with Dad back in the day, going to all the national parks. Because they were free for the most part back then, and so that was our vacation in the summertime. A lot of time for 3 weeks, we'd get in the car and we'd go around. Yeah, we camp, but we sleep in the car sometimes. We had no choice. But I remember Dad would always have the radio on, and he was a big Red Sox fan. My parents were from New England, so of course by default I'm a Red Sox fan, and my two brothers are as well. But I remember riding through the country, and Dad would be able to pick up WBZ out of Boston, which is a big blowtorch station. But I remember driving down the road, and like you would hear parts of the game. You thought it was crowd cheering, but maybe it was static, right? So you never knew. You knew the Red Sox were at home, and if the crowd was cheering, that was a good thing. But was that really the crowd cheering? Maybe it was static. So every now and then we'd lose them for five minutes, and they'd come back, and it'd be a different inning, that kind of thing. So that was fun to listen to the Red Sox. And we used to sit in the car in North Carolina. We moved to North Carolina from Wisconsin in 1975. Dad and I would sit in the driveway in the station wagon, because the radio was good, and we'd listen to the Red Sox games, because it wasn't on TV. There was no sports TV back then. There were 3 channels on the TV if we were lucky. And so it was a cherished memory, sitting in a car with Dad, just listening to, like for hours, listening to the game. And then one other thing, the reason why I'm on radio at all is Dad would always listen to this guy named Bruce Williams. He was called America's Answer Man. He was on the radio all the time. He had a show, a 3-hour show. And I thought it was fascinating. That guy knew everything about everything. It didn't matter. People would call in with questions about home repair, car repair, financial, relationship. He would always have the right advice. And so America's Answer Man was Bruce Williams, and that inspired me to go on radio to begin with.
Very cool.
And the rest of the story guy, too. That's the rest of Paul Harvey.
Love Paul Harvey.
So those guys were influential to me being in the media world.
Well, it says a lot about the radio that you listened to, because a lot of people might say, I'm trying to think of all ends of the spectrum here, maybe a Rush Limbaugh or a Don Imus. I don't know. But that shows that,
Rush was after that. I remember hearing him in 1989. I was a mortgage broker. I field closed in North Carolina. I drive across the state. So I spent a lot of time in my car going to people's houses, notarizing the loan documents for them, that kind of thing. I'm a notary as well. And I remember hearing this guy on the radio, and I said, gosh, he speaks what I think. And you know how you find a radio or a TV show or whatever, and you stumble across it, and you hear it for the first time, and not really sure, and you hear it again, you start to like it. I started to look forward to Rush. I started to run to my car at 12 o'clock.
Yeah.
And then of course, the internet came after. There was no internet back in 1989, but after that, in the 2000s, I would sit in my office and find him on the computer. on this live show was streamed on a computer and listened to him in
El
my office.
Rushbo, was it?
Yeah, and so it's just funny how you form a relationship with someone you never met. And a lot of folks loved Rush.
And
You know,
it's
when he
very
passed away.
authentic on both sides.
I think
which-
authentic is the main word. You know, Bruce Williams was very authentic. The Red Sox were authentic. They always lost.
they're still authentic.
They were consistent at least.
But they lost. But they've won 5 times now since the year 2000 World Series. So that's
Right.
good. So I'm happy. But Rush Limbaugh was authentic, and you know, you may not have liked him, but you knew where he stood. And so I hate people where they change their answer depending on who they're talking to. With me,
Right.
you know, you may not like my answer,
You're
you may not
very-
like me, but you know where I stand. And so that's the way it is.
Yeah. No.
The truth is important. I hate phony people.
What, which athlete or celebrity did you most look up to when you were a little kid? I know we were talking about sports earlier.
Yeah.
What celebrity?
Well, let's break that down in 2, okay? The athlete I looked up to was Larry Bird, back in the day, the Birdman.
Oh, yes.
He didn't have that much talent, but he worked hard.
He did
Worked
hustle.
hard. He was always in the gym. He was always practicing. And so he could jump about that like me.
His vert was about Chrissy's.
So he had the white man disease. He could jump like that, but he hustled and he played his ass off. And so, of course, Michael Jordan after that. Who doesn't like Michael Jordan? And as a Carolina guy, I'm from UNC, so I missed him. I missed Michael Jordan by 1 year, folks.
Oh,
He
wow.
left in 1983. I started in 1984.
Did you ever run into him when you were on campus or working your
No,
job?
never saw him. He'd come back during the summer times, I guess. I'd run into Marty Hensley every now and then, but that's nothing to brag about.
Oh yeah. We've got some.
Marty's a great-
question
Marty's a
about,
great guy.
We got a question about Marty Hensley coming up. Don't you worry.
So, so that was my, I guess, the athlete I always looked up to, and I liked the guy, the actor, Columbo back in the day. Remember the show? He would always act like he was done asking questions, and then he would
then,
walk away.
aha.
Yeah, just one more
Gotcha.
thing. And so that's what I've been doing in the financial world here. I've been exposing a lot of the hidden secrets many times, and
Right.
so I sort of mirror Columbo when it talks when it looks at how to see what's really going on in the financial world.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like the brokers behaving badly, the
Yeah.
fine print for yes. I mean,
I don't
you,
like dirty tricks. I don't like
Yeah.
people being scammed. And gosh, I know that we only have a certain amount of money in our life, and we don't need to get Rocky Bleier. Talk to Rocky Bleier. He was 3-time Super Bowl champion with the Pittsburgh Steelers. But he said, Coach, I had a bad advisor. I made money, Coach, back then, but he didn't make much money. You know, back then the athletes didn't make what they make
It's
these
so
days.
true.
Soto just signed with the New York Mets for $750 million. 700. That's $750 million.
That's crazy.
I know,
15-year
It's almost more money
contract.
than we give Ukraine.
it's crazy.
15-year
But
contract.
so now, but Rocky didn't make much money. But he said, Coach, I gave it to the advisor who misled me. So he wrote a book when I used to do a radio show with him, and it was "Don't Fumble Your Retirement." Real money lessons learned by 4-time Super Bowl champion
There it
Rocky
is.
Bleier.
Yeah.
And so you had to get it in your head. And so he always said, Coach, there's too many people out there that aren't looking out for you. And so that's why it's important to have a fiduciary planner and make sure that they're doing the right thing for you in life. And so I don't know what's like the Bernie Madoff mentality. I don't know how people do that because how can you sleep at night knowing you're screwing people? So I've always tried to follow that motto in 32 years, never do the wrong thing.
Yeah, something that's really important. It feels like in Hollywood, you hear. I mean, there were a ton of stories
Yeah.
about.
Wesley Snipes.
Yeah,
Got a lot of tax trouble.
There's another.
You know, here's something, folks. When you make money, you got to share some of that with Uncle Sam. You
Yeah.
can't keep it all.
Yeah,
Come knocking.
By the
he's
way,
ready.
speaking of Hollywood, I've got a new movie coming out by April of 2025. My new movie with Al Pacino will be out called Lear Rex. It's Al Pacino's 84 years old. This is probably going to be one of his last movies. And it was a lot of fun on the set with him, and this is going to be a great movie. It's a Shakespeare remake, like King Lear kind of thing. A really good movie. And so look for that, and you'll see my name as an executive producer.
Wow, Al
Very cool.
Pacino. I mean,
When you say his name, who doesn't know who Al Pacino is?
Yeah, great movies over
Yeah.
the years.
Yep.
there's so many.
Really nice guy, too.
All right.
I've got another one. Let me
You got
ask
one?
Pete.
All right.
Yeah, so you talked about vacationing with the national parks when you were younger. So as you've grown older, what's your most favorite vacation spot now in the entire world that you've really enjoyed and really liked?
Let me tell you my 2 favorite vacation spots back then, too.
Okay.
The Yellowstone was one of my favorite, probably the favorite with the Old Faithful. Have you ever been to Yellowstone?
I have not.
Is that
The geysers, it's amazing.
Montana? What state?
It's on our
Yeah,
list.
either Wyoming or Montana. I get both
Okay.
those states messed up.
But it's out west.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, not the show,
Okay.
but I do like the show. I
Yellowstone.
like Kevin Costner.
Sure.
And then the Petrified Forest, which most people have never heard of. It's in Arizona, and it's miles and miles of trees that are rocks.
So it's not
They
haunted.
were petrified. I don't know. You know, when an asteroid hit the Earth, it just petrified everything. So you
It's a
get
good reason.
still standing trees laying down. The rule was this was a national park. You weren't allowed to take anything you saw there.
Pete.
What were you supposed to do? Leave them there? You're not a monster.
They were petrified. So, yeah, you know, the funny thing is, Chrissy and Alan, the more I travel, the more home feels better. The more you appreciate here. I mean, we're in the Research Triangle right now. I live in Cary. I wouldn't trade where I live with anywhere. I spend a lot of time out west. So much better here. So, as far as the best place ever, well, I like Aruba. Aruba's my favorite place.
I know you've been there a few times.
Yeah, a few, probably about 12 times. My wife and I went 9 years in a row at one time. So we bought here's a little bit of thing about me. I'll tell the story. You know how I am, tangent away.
Yeah.
We went there for a honeymoon in 1998.
Okay.
We loved it. We had a good time. So remember back in 1998, you used to get the Sunday paper. Remember the Sunday paper would come and it'd be this thick and
Like
have
at a
all these
hotel?
coupons in there.
Yeah.
And I still am a coupon. I kept coupons, so I want to save money. But
Ooh,
also
that's a good
inside
note.
this is back when cigarettes could advertise. So Salem had a Salem Go for the Gold sweepstakes. Salem cigarettes. Cut it out, you fill it out, put it in an envelope, send it in. I won the grand prize.
You did not.
While we were in Aruba at the contest that I won, I got the local Aruban paper, and in the back there were some classified ads, and it was a Marriott timeshare for sale that somebody got stuck in. I don't advise buying a timeshare retail, like going into these seminars and buying a timeshare where they start financing it over 20 years and they stick you with it. But I bought a $22,000 timeshare for $3,000 aftermarket at a Marriott. It's got a private island, so we started going every single year. So we went 9 straight years. The honeymoon, the contest, and then 7 more years. And for some reason, we didn't go the 10th year. But the law in Aruba is if you go 10 years in a row, you can buy land there.
Interesting.
Yeah, and you can even apply for a dual citizenship. But we didn't do that. For some reason, we didn't go that
Didn't go
last
that
year.
10th year.
So, but Aruba, to me, it's like Hawaii. It's nice water, nice sandy beaches. But you don't have to, from here in North Carolina, you don't have to go, 12 hours? It seems like forever to get to Hawaii from here.
Is it a
You can get to Aruba in 3 or 4 hours.
really?
Yeah, it's a good place.
I
Anyway,
love
we
it.
got off on a tangent, but it's good to talk about stuff like that. So it's the world's a big place.
It is.
There are a lot of places to go. There's a lot of places I have never been to.
Where
Probably
would you
places
like
I'm-
to? Where's the place you'd like to go, bucket list
I
style?
don't know. I get tired of traveling after a while. It's just a pain in the butt in the airports and having to come through the customs and all that kind of stuff. But if
Statesville.
I really enjoyed Switzerland in high school. I was only there for two days on a spring break vacation for 10 days. We went with a group and spent 2 days in Switzerland. And I thought Switzerland was very pretty and beautiful, and I love chocolate. So check.
I think that covers all the
Yeah.
bases.
It does.
When you look at Paris, not quite as impressed with Paris. I'd rather be in Italy than Paris any day.
Nice.
Yeah, Italy. The people are a lot more friendly. The food's better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot
Just
of,
me.
a lot of
Everybody's
history,
different.
too, in Italy.
It's whatever you like to do in life. Just because I like to do it doesn't mean you'll like it, and vice versa.
True.
And well, speaking of the history mention just then,
Yeah.
if you could hop in a DeLorean and travel back in time, what is the one period of time that you would go back to? And you're the history buff in you.
I'd go back to the 80s. Life was so much simpler.
Music was
There was
great.
no internet. Dad couldn't find me. When you think about it, we've got more advanced as a society. It seems like people are more busy now than they ever were, even though we have so many more things that can be done for us. Yeah. And people seem to be more uptight these days.
Very true.
Yes.
It was so much more simple of a life, and I'm starting to sound like my grandpa, right? I walked 3 miles to school through snow, but it really is. Life was
agree.
simpler. And then so I think we'll look back in 20 or 30 years from now and say, I wish I could go back to the 20s. We're in the 20s now.
Wow, the roaring 20s.
Because AI is going to change the world for the good. Mm-hmm. It's also going to change the world for the bad.
Agreed.
Who knows no one knows what's going to happen with AI, but it's not going to be as simple as it used to be.
Right.
And now I saw the other day in an article I read that AI, people are bad guys using AI to break into your accounts.
Oh,
And these kind of viruses that attack municipalities and companies, the ransomware. Here in Apex, we had a ransomware attack, and our power bills went up like crazy because they got into their computer system. Like we had like a tens of thousands of dollar power bill, which is usually $1,000. You know, that kind of thing. So I think that AI is going to make things a lot more complicated.
Yeah.
What do you think, Ellen? I mean,
I would agree 100%.
Yeah. So the genie's out of the bottle. We're not going to stop it.
No, it's going to continue growing.
Right.
And like you said, for good and bad.
Yeah. Sort of like the NIL in the college sports.
That's a great analogy.
Because now it's been common knowledge to most people who have any common sense at all that there have been some schools that have been paying athletes forever.
Well, yeah.
Now they made it legal, and because they made it legal, there's no limits, there's no salary cap. You got guys and gals being offered millions of dollars to
And
play a college sport that they're already on scholarship for. And they call them amateur athletes. The funny thing is, I posted this online the other day in social media. You can't call them amateurs when they're making more than 99% of the fans watching them if they're in college sports. Like, think about all the people sitting in the stands. 99 out of 100 of those people in the stands are making less than the athletes on the floor that are college athletes that are supposed to be amateurs.
It's
Well, the genie is out of the bottle. But now some no-name school almost can offer more money, and the athletes say, well, I'll go there. You know, who cares about it? And I'll stay 1 year and I'll go pro.
Right.
Or maybe I'll stay 4 years, and some of these guys and gals are never going to play pro, but they're going to make so much money in college they never have to play pro. They can retire after school. Believe it or not. If they, again, going back to the first question you asked me about what my mom told me, or first or second question about what mom said about money, many of these athletes are going to make a lot of money. They're going to blow a lot of money. They're going to have all these chains and cars and all that, and they're not going to have any money to show for it. Now, the chains, if they're gold, if it has a meltdown value, they got something there. But half the money they make, they need to put aside in a place they can't spend or touch until 55, because now they have a retirement account.
Compounded interest.
There's no better friend or foe than compound interest. It can work for you or very much against you. In other words, credit card, that's compound interest against you. Putting money in a great compounded savings account, that's going to work for you, and the money will do the work for you. You won't have to do any work. Your money needs to work for you. So it's okay to spend some money. I always advise athletes or people that make a lot of money or inherit money, go ahead and blow 10% of it, 20% if you want. But let's take half of it and put it in a place you can't touch that'll be there in the future. That's going to be, not only will it be there in the future, a lot more than you put aside will be there because it's not in a place you can lose it.
Right. It's
crazy, isn't it?
And
there's
you
two
could have an
losses. There's
outline.
losses because you spend money, and there's losses because you put the money in the wrong place.
Right.
And so both of those are bad, but they can, again, you can spend money. If you don't spend any, it's sort of like someone who says they're on a diet all the time around their friends. I'm on a diet, I can't eat. Like you're eating a pizza in front of your friend, I can't eat it, I'm on a diet. The minute you leave, they go home and order 3 pizzas.
Yeah.
So,
I was going to say they finish it.
go ahead and splurge a little bit, get it out of your system. So if someone's telling you can't do something, what are you going to want to do?
You're going to want to do it.
I've taken this advice with my daughter, Carrie. She's 19 now, almost 20.
Roll Tide.
And I've never told her she can't. She's at Alabama now. Yeah, Roll Tide. And I've never told her not to do things, because if you tell someone they can't,
That's
they're
a
gonna
smart
want to.
papa right
I've always
there.
offered her wine. She never wants it. Oh, it's nasty, Daddy. But if I was saying you can't have that, guess what she's going to do?
He's going to.
And I thought we would wrap it up with some, because you've got such a big team that works between capital, financial, and broadcasting experts. And I thought we would just do a word association for a couple of the members of your team. So let's kick it off with Greg Berrien.
Enthusiastic.
That's great.
Greg has, I'm trying to think of another word too, but he's basically done everything I've told him to do as far as to get on the right path. And he follows my advice, and he never tries to argue with my advice, because I'm not perfect, but I've been through everything, and I think in the financial world in 32 years. So he's not going to try to reinvent the wheel. So he's enthusiastic when I tell him what I would do in this situation. He doesn't try to argue with me.
Mr. Parker Holland.
A machine.
True.
I mean, he really, I've never met someone as smart as he is, as far as he just seems to have a photographic memory, I guess. And he knows exactly, after talking to somebody, exactly what they want. And he puts a plan together that fits exactly what they told him to do. It's amazing. Parker is amazing to me.
Yeah, I've actually heard you refer to Parker as a machine many times.
He's just a machine.
It's
Yep. He
it's
works
true.
hard,
He does.
and his clients love him.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? One client said they remind him of a grandson they never had.
You know, I
He still looks really young, doesn't he? He's probably 30. When he started with me, he was like 23. And now he's in his 30s. I don't know how old he is. I'm bad with ages. Thomas in my office, I remember when he was 30, now he's 40. It's crazy how people just get older on you, but he looks the same to me, you know. So.
Well, that is the next person on my list, Thomas Lipscomb.
Beautiful. Not in the way you
Yep.
think. Just he does a perfect team player. So
Yep.
beautiful. I mean, he does. It's amazing. No matter what you tell Thomas we need, even if he has no idea what I'm talking about, he'll find out.
Yeah.
He doesn't argue with me. You
Yep.
argue with me, you're going to get the bad side of me.
Yeah.
And so I have certain things I like to have done, and Thomas knows exactly what that is.
Yeah, I actually recently asked Thomas, is there anything around here that you don't do? He's definitely on top of it, and
He is
he's
like
a go-to guy. He
Swiss Army
understands.
knife of.
Swiss Army knife, but that's more than one word.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. That's why I'm asking
Swissy.
the questions.
Thomas' new nickname is Swissy.
Ooh, I like it. And of course, Marty Hensley.
Tall.
See, perfect. To the point.
Yeah, Marty's a great guy. I mean, everyone in the office comes to him and tells him he's like the Dr. Phil of the office. People go to tell him their problems, and Marty he sits there and has to listen to them, and then he'll give them advice. So Marty's really good.
Dr. Phil.
Marty's like a grandfather kind of figure there. People come and talk to him. Marty had good training. Dean Smith was Marty's mentor back in the day, the famous basketball coach in North Carolina. And Marty will spout some of the things. I mean, Dean really drilled in some real good ethics into Marty, and Marty will spout word for word what Dean would tell him back, 40 years ago.
Yes, yeah.
So it's funny, when you meet somebody who makes an impression in your life, you never forget that person.
Well.
Matter of fact, that person gets magnified more in your mind as you get older than shrinks. It gets bigger and bigger in your head, the people you really remember and the people you really appreciate.
And this is not intentional to have the segue be from Marty Hensley, because he's delightful, to this question, but how do you deal with the haters? Because there are haters in the building, not in this building, but that's what Lil Wayne says, haters in the building.
Well, if they're in this building, we have a roof.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Don't worry about it. We'll take care of them. But how do you deal with haters? Because you just, you're a busy guy. Got a lot going on.
Pretty big personality, I'll admit. And I've been the same way since high school, since grade school. I've always tried to, I'm a type A. And certain people like that and certain people don't. So what I don't do is I don't dwell on people that don't like me. If you don't like me, that's fine. You're not going to live rent-free in my head, though. I'm going to isolate you, put you in a box in my mind, and wrap that up and put aside. Because all I can do is the best I can do. And I'm not perfect. I can't jump. I can't dunk a ball. I've never been able to dunk a basketball. I try to make friends. I try if you run into me in a public situation, I'm real quiet at first because I don't like to be. I'm not obnoxious until I get to know you.
No, you're not obnoxious.
My daughter's the same way. She's the quietest girl ever, but I've seen her around me and her mom. But when she's around her friends, she's the life of the party. So I like to be the life of the party sometimes, and I like to blend in other times. I'm a Gemini. I have different personalities at different times.
Yeah.
And I actually can develop or mold myself into different situations and fit the crowd, so I can fit in.
Very malleable. Yeah.
But I fit in, and I can be a follower, but I like to be a leader at the same time.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, if someone's going to try to live rent-free, you're like, excuse me, pay up. I'm Mr. Roper here.
We've got a couple of haters that we really know, and they're and I think it's more that I don't think they hate me. I think they realize how popular I am, and I'm not bragging.
Yeah,
and they know there's a strategy there. If you talk junk about somebody who's popular on social media, now their words can be like my name can be associated with his video. Mm-hmm. His videos and his audio, his articles get associated with mine. He's almost like a leech or a parasite. Well, parasite more than termite because he's latching on to me and taking advantage of all the press I get when he has no press.
A tick. Yeah, with
That's
a
right.
T.
Yeah, I'd like to pop him.
Okay, and then just to wrap everything up, what is the one thing that folks would be the most surprised to know about you, Coach?
I don't know. I don't know what people think about me. I'm a nice guy. I like to have fun. I'm more of a loner than a strong personality, though. I enjoy alone time just as much as I enjoy crowd time. I'm not the kind of guy that will be the life of the party all the time. I like to chill a lot of time. I think that surprises people because I'm very loud and on the radio and hogging the show. And when you listen to my radio show, it's an hour long, and I'm probably on there 55 of the minutes. And I have 3 co-hosts. But I like to listen too every now and then.
Do you know who the Hawk Tua girl is? Okay.
Who doesn't?
Okay, so there is a thing, a crypto coin that she released recently.
Went way up and came way down. They called it a rug pull. Yep.
Okay, I had not heard that term before.
If you're in the crypto world, you've heard that term.
What is it exactly? Is it bad for her?
Yes, it's like a pump and dump. That's in the stock. The stock market is pump and dump. You pump something up that's really not legitimate. You pump it up with articles saying how great it is, and then people buy it. You've already bought it way down there. People buy it. You sell it up here, then you pull the rug. Boom, it goes down.
You pull it right out from and
basically
you take
it means you sold all your stock when it goes way up, or your crypto, and then everybody else who bought it's left holding the bag, worth nothing.
Is it frowned upon?
Oh yeah, I mean because by everybody but the person making money.
So it's not illegal per se, depending on, we don't know the ins and outs.
Well, I think it is illegal. It is illegal to do that,
Sure.
Especially if you're an investment advisor or in the financial world. But I think anybody who artificially pumps anything up, knowing that it's not real, is illegal.
It sounds like this was her first venture into, from what I don't know, but would she not have benefited from talking to someone like yourself?
Yeah, well, I don't know. I don't know where she got her advice from. It's not easy to develop your own crypto coin, by the way, or token. So I don't know how she did that. So somebody's behind that with her, and I'm sure that whoever is behind it with her is the main culprit of this rug pull.
Howie Mandel's son-in-law is what I read.
Well, so there's always it takes more than one person to scam people many times, and so she might just be the face. No pun intended, of that coin.
Well done. Yeah.
And so, a quick word about crypto. Anyone who knows me knows since April of 2021, I started getting involved in crypto.
Right.
And I don't talk about it much on the show because I didn't want people following my advice because I've always been called the Mikey of the financial world. I want to try something before I think it's legitimate or not.
Yeah.
And so it's been a wild ride. I went way up when I first started, then I went way down. And now I'm back up above even now.
The moon?
Yeah, but I think it's just crypto is sort of like the stock market or anything in life. When you're buying something, you can buy quality or you can buy crap. You can buy a little quality or a lot of crap. And so like when you see a penny stock, you can buy millions of shares of a penny stock for nothing.
Right.
And you like to say, oh, I've got 15 million of this share of stock, but it never moves anything. Or you can put 100 shares of Facebook and watch it go to the moon. So it's always, or Tesla or some of the quality companies or GE. So GE's done a really good job splitting and coming up with stuff like that. So again, never invest in something you don't understand and never invest money you can't afford to lose. Those are the two things that if you take those two pieces of advice, your life will be a whole lot simpler. And so when we sit down with folks, we always say, we have a core and explore philosophy. The core is money you're going to need for retirement. So we need to put that retirement money away and have it grow in that compounded interest environment kind of thing, or sharing in the gains in the market, but not sharing in the losses. And we also know with the money we put in there, we know with certainty what our income's going to be for life based on what we put aside today. We know 20 years from now what we're going to be able to get every single year for the rest of our life with no worries about outliving that money. And so once we get that core established, then we put money in the explore account. That's where you take the risk in the hot Tua coins or whatever, but only after you get your core. See, the main thing that I see that's wrong in the financial world is people are trying to jump the shark. They're trying to get ahead without doing the work. They're putting a lot of money, the Vegas mentality, they're putting it all on red and watching one spin of the wheel and it goes on black.
Yes.
You can do that if you already have your core established. But if you're taking the core money and putting it over there, you're in trouble. So if you learn one thing in the financial world, don't take risks you can't afford to take, but get a total retirement plan first to make sure you have that core philosophy before you ever take risk. And so we'll do another one of these next year. We do one every December, starting last year. This is tradition now. This is the second annual.
I love it.
What's going on in Coach Pete's head? There was a show called Herman's Head back in the day where they had like actors acting like they were like part of Herman's brain, Herman's head. It was only one season on Fox, but it was pretty funny. It was like all different personalities that you have in your head talking to, we all know that we need safe money, but there's something in our head like Fred Flintstone had the evil kazoo and he had the smart kazoo. We all know we're supposed to take safe money and we need to have an income plan set up, but then we all have that other side saying, well, let's skip that. Let's get ahead fast. Let's put all our money on red. Let's buy lottery tickets. That mentality only works for a few people, and it probably won't be you. Good to see you. See you next year.
Peter J. DeRuda is known as America's wealth, income, and financial coach. Coach Pete knows how to get his message out and does it across multiple media platforms, including television, radio, podcasts, and social media. He's the recipient of 3 Emmy Awards, 10 Telly Awards, and 5 Quillies. He's more than a media guru. Coach Pete is a master registered financial consultant, fiduciary, and has been in the financial arena for over 32 years. He founded Capital Financial to help his clients cross the street of life. He holds the prestigious Retirement Income Certified Professional designation. That means Coach Pete and his team are specialists in planning the most important phase of your life, retirement and retirement income. He's a former 2-time president of the IARFC, a global financial planning association. He has written or co-written 16 books to date, including America Asks Coach and the Amazon bestseller 7 Baby Steps to a Ridiculously Reliable Retirement Income. By far, his favorite book just happens to be his most recent, The Big Book on Retirement.
Big Book on Retirement is your playbook to success. As we look into 2012,
For 2 decades, Coach Pete has been on the forefront of media communications, from radio to television to today's social media explosion.
What inspired you to write the Don't Worry, Retire Happy book?
well, I had given the paychecks and paychecks.
When networks like CNBC and Fox Business need an expert in financial planning and retirement, Coach Pete is often the first call.
In retirement, I've seen way too many people spend way too much money.
Every day, he informs and entertains millions, all while imparting common sense retirement insight.
Let's be honest, that word retirement can mean so many different things to so many different people.
From his professional radio and television studios at Coach Pete Land in North Carolina, he's created a variety of radio and television shows heard weekly around the country, including Rock On Retirement, A+ Retirement, America's 401k Show, and the flagship program that started it all, the Financial Safari.
So hello folks, it's Coach Pete right here. This week on the Financial Safari.
Coach Pete is also one of Dave Ramsey's SmartVestor Pros and can be found on Dave's website as a financial pro with the heart of a teacher.
If I can get up every day and help just one person and learn one thing for myself, it's not been a wasted day.